Welcome to another edition of Soto Desperado Plays Star Wars The Old Republic.
Report your ailments.
Picking up where I left off.
You are fit for duty. Return to your post.
And so we're on Hoth trying to finish up some of the final missions. I do have a couple of videos in mind. And I'm going to see if I can get that set up. Hopefully the thing won't crap out on me.
Said a word all day.
Yeah, fine. Just been thinking about that ship we found yesterday.
Cruiser?
All right. So before we start that, let's see if we can start the video. So this one is from Glenn Beck. I don't know if anybody listens to Glenn Beck. I thought I had subscribed to him already. I'm so sure I had. Anyway, I was so sure I had subscribed to him already. He's got a lot of subscribers. Anyway, he's an interesting mind. Evidence China might take Taiwan before Trump's inauguration. That's interesting because Taiwan is a big deal. A lot of things are made in Taiwan. If China takes Taiwan by force or does anything like that, then shit, that's a lot of manufacturing power. So anyway, here we go.
So I don't know if you know this, but Biden claims he got 100 hostages out of Gaza. I didn't see that happen, but he claimed that he got over 100 hostages out, and the rest are coming.
Shouldn't
I don't. A rest should be coming, not the rest. A rest should be coming for him, like now. Why is this guy still president?
It's shocking and terrifying when you think about the fact that he is. Because you forget, right? And he's not doing it. It doesn't seem like he's active on a day-to-day basis. You don't hear from him often.
But we're all still talking about, like, nuclear war or war in Europe, war in China. Did you see what's happening in China? In China, right now, their economy is collapsing because they did the same thing we did. And so they bailed everybody out, but not the people. You know, why worry about the peasants? You know, they bailed out all the banks and everybody at the top, so they all got their money, but none of the peasants did. Now they're starting to go, we might need to go back to some of that teachings of Mao in the 1960s because there's starting to be real civil unrest because people lost their money, lost their home. In China, you didn't get your home. You were paying every month on your home, and at the end, you could get your home. So they put all of this money in, and they don't have anything. They don't even have the home. They don't have the land. They have nothing. Okay, what happens when a country like China or a country like America is in real trouble of civil unrest? What do they usually do? What unites a country? I'll give you one word in China. It's called Taiwan. That's also an industrial giant. Will also help them economically.
Yeah, I mean, I guess long term it would, right? Like you go in there and you make all the factories explode. Generally speaking, it's not going to help you. It's not going to help anybody economically in the short term.
I hope somebody makes those factories explode. I mean, it'll hurt the whole world, but...
Yeah, but it hurt the world, but... I mean,
no, you can't have China. Those are the best. That's for every supercomputer. Those are the finest chips made, the most complicated chips made. You can't have China control all of that, and we get nothing? Are you crazy?
Yeah, that's a problem. I mean, they took over Hong Kong. Didn't seem like anybody even noticed.
Yeah, I know.
Everyone was like, ah!
They killed all the people in Hong Kong, you know. But we were like, I have a sneeze. What's coming from China? And they killed all of those protesters when we weren't paying attention. And I think they are going back to Mao rules. They're now saying, Xi Jinping is saying, what we need to do is give local control of your population. But I'll hold you responsible if your local population gets out of control. So that's what Mao did. And then so all of the locals were like, well, string them up. kill him, make an example out of him. I mean, it went dark fast because they didn't want to get killed or strung up. And they're going back to that now. He just issued an order that it's local control of all civilian unrest. And so all the locals are going to be held responsible. So that could get bad. And with the economy just dying over there, they need a distraction. And I would, if I were China, is China listening? Oh, yeah, that's right. They listen to everything. If I were China, this would be the time I would take it. What's Donald Trump going to do? January 20th? We're already there. We've already taken it. They could take it in a swarm almost overnight. You think Chinese Joe, who's asleep, is going to do anything? You think this Pentagon will send a bunch of he-she's over there to fight? Nah. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
What's the right thing to do in that situation?
For us?
Yeah. Like, what? You're president of the United States. God, heavens, please protect us against such a fate. But Glenn Beck is president of the United States, and China decides to go in there. And I know we have all sorts of promises.
I would already have my special forces there, honestly, working with their government or not if they won't do it. But I'd detonate. If there was an invasion, I'd detonate those labs.
So you're saying destroy the technology.
Destroy
so that
the
China
technology.
Can't get their
yeah,
hands
so
on
we
it.
all are standing at an equal chance of getting the super chips. You know, they have to rebuild. We have to rebuild. They'll build it faster than us because they'll do it. They'll build a building without bones, human bones, if they have to.
we have some of this.
Taiwan is.
It's like 95% of the market or something ridiculous.
And it's of all of the biggest and best chips.
And that's the manufacturing, right?
Yes.
So it's not like we're going to need to rediscover this technology.
No, but no. We don't have to rediscover it. It's just very hard to build those clean rooms.
Sure.
Okay. So the first and maybe only thing I would do, because we don't have the supply line. What do we have? What do we have? Well, we could take all the drones out of New Jersey and fly them over to China. Mm-hmm. But China has. Have you seen the drone army that they have?
Oh yeah, I've seen some of the videos and stuff. Yeah,
it's crazy. It will overwhelm anything we would try to do, and we just don't have the supply lines. We can't get the fuel and the munitions and everything over to China fast enough. It would be over.
I mean, at the end of the day, and this is somewhat true with Russia and several other enemies. Like, we want to avoid that war at any cost.
Yes.
Like, I want to avoid war with China basically at any cost.
We won't go to war with China.
We're not going to go.
Taiwan.
And I know, and like, it's sad to say, but like, we won't. I think at the end of the day, we will not do that.
No.
Now, the hope is you have someone like Trump in who projects some strength.
Yeah, that's
China
why you
doesn't
do it. That's why you do it right now.
In the last month?
Yeah. In 4 weeks, they'll control Taiwan,
but
and it'll
China,
be over.
Trump has been pretty clear. Like, I mean, let's be honest about it. I'm a little concerned that Donald Trump might have a constitutional violation because he's supposed to be limited to 2 terms, and he seems to currently be president of the United States. Like, he seems like he just took over early. Like
Wow, that is true.
I mean, it's crazy.
I've never seen that. You're right. I've never seen this.
It's bizarre. I mean,
yeah.
he seems to basically. I know he doesn't have his hands on all of the tools that he will have when he's president.
Yeah.
But as far as like
he's affecting all of the foreign policy and everything else.
Yeah, which is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is.
It is.
And I do think.
Well, it's because there's a vacuum.
Yeah,
I mean, he can do it because.
Mm-hmm.
I think the last
he has
what was
to do it. He has no choice but to do it for the good of the country.
Yes.
I honestly think that, like, without him stepping into a lot of these situations, God only knows what would happen. I think a lot of these countries are looking at this and saying, all right, like, let's get through the next few weeks.
Oh, I think Russia is just preparing for negotiations.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're trying to strengthen their hand for negotiations with Trump because they know he is tough on negotiations.
Yep.
But China is backed into a financial corner so deeply that they may need a win in Taiwan to hold their nation together because they're in real dire trouble. Dire trouble. They took all these people out of the rice paddies and had them build these ghost cities that are sitting empty. And so they see how they can live, and they're sitting empty. And wait, you just took my money. Well, I want one of those. Why don't I get one of those? Why are you bailing out? Think how mad we were at the bailout of the banks. Imagine being rice paddy to bamboo scaffolding, building those giant cities. They're completely empty. The banks have them. Now China has them. And you lost everything. Oh, my gosh.
This is central plan.
They're in trouble.
Right?
Yeah.
This is what happens with it.
They are in big trouble.
They are in trouble. I hope they don't do this because I don't know. There's not really a great answer.
We could look. By the time we get back from the Christmas vacation, we could be looking at a different world. Remember when we came back from Christmas vacation in 2020, and I said, stupidly, "Wow, have you seen what they're doing in China? They're like telling everybody they have to stay in. Well, you'll never do that in America."
I thought the same thing. I thought it when it was happening in Italy.
Yeah.
I remember being like, can you imagine if they ever tried to do that here? Like 6 days later.
Yeah, and we're being yelled at. They have every right to do it. And we're like, what? Wait, what? But anyway, we could be coming back from vacation talking about Taiwan. I hope not. I hope not. But I don't think we have anything we could do other than tariffs and trade wars. We can't go to war with China at this point. We can't.
I think, though, projecting strength does a lot in that relationship.
Yeah, now, could I just...
Not feebly folding every single time.
But that's why I say, this is your last chance. If China wants to make a move in the next 4 years, if Vance gets in, possibly another 8 or 12 years before you could have a weakened America like you have now. And let me show you how weak. This is the National Security Council advisor inside of the White House. This is from O'Keefe Media. Listen to what he says about Joe Biden's condition.
Well, here's the tea. Joe Biden is like dead. He like can't just say something. He's like really like progressed in his old age. Everybody recognized. I can't believe it wasn't a bigger scandal with. He'll be dead in a year. My boss was on an international trip with him, like Europe or something. The phone rang in the office, and I was like, "Well, Mr. President." Henry, he was like, "Is Jake there?" He's like, "No, he's traveling with you. He's on the same trip that you are." A couple weeks ago, I was like the last one in the office, and he called from my boss. And so I picked the phone and said, "Hello, Mr. President. Like, Henry on Jake's phone. He's left for the day, but I can try to get him on the line for you." And he like asked me some questions, and I was like, "I don't know, like, let me get the track him down. So don't call his Secret Service detail." It's like I'll try his like unclassified phone. Like then like 10 seconds later, same phone. I picked it up again. I was like, "Hi again, it's Henry." He was like, "Is Jake there?" I was like, "No, you called the same office."
Oh my gosh. In case you couldn't understand that, he was saying, this is Jake Sullivan's assistant. And he said he's practically dead. He can't put coherent sentences together. He said Jake was on a trip with Biden overseas, and he called Jake's phone back in Washington, and that guy picked it up, and he said, "No, Mr. President, Jake is with you on that trip." Oh. Then he called again, and he said, "Hey, I need to call Jake." And he said, "Well, he's not here. I'll call him." And he said, "No, now listen to this. I'll just call him on his unclassified phone." Okay? You don't do that. You do not do that. And I'll explain why if we have time later in the show. But he says, "I'll just call him on his unclassified phone." Hangs up the phone. Phone rings again. That guy picks it up. Henry picks it up. And he's like, "Hello, Mr. President. No, you called the same phone number. Tell me, if you are a world leader, you don't look at your opportunity that is going away in the next 4 or 5 weeks and say, I don't know, I think we do it right now. I hope nobody is thinking about that. But this is why I've said this time between the election and the inauguration is wildly dangerous for America. And the less we pay attention to the news, the more dangerous it becomes. And that kind of begins in America next week.
Yeah. It doesn't take a genius to know that somebody's been pulling Biden's strings, and if the people that are in the White House had any kind of honor, or shall they say they prioritized what was best for the American people, they would have said something about it and let the vice president take over. Because that's what the vice president is for. If the president gets sick or is dead, then the vice president is supposed to take over, and that's what should have happened. Kamala should have taken over. And it looks like she did, but in a way, maybe that's why it's all fucked up. But anyway, let's see here. Hopefully I didn't get logged out. Now, there was another one I saved. There it is.
Let's start over in Chicago.
As the federal government reports, there has been a double-digit jump in Americans who are experiencing homelessness compared to 2023. Lilia Luciano reports that increase is even bigger when it comes to families.
The shocking increase in the number of people living without housing in American cities.
Look at these. Look at that crap. Look at that nonsense. It still amazes me. I still haven't normalized it.
Is no surprise to Cynthia English, who spent 10 years experiencing homelessness.
Low-income housing is not truly affordable for those of us who make the leaps.
According to the government's latest data, more than 770,000 people were unhoused in a single night in 2024, up 18% from the year before and the highest number ever recorded.
It can happen to anybody.
Steve Berg is the chief policy.
No, it can't. No, it can't. I'm never going homeless. I'm never going homeless. I'm never going broke. I'm never going back to the hood. I'm never going back. It cannot happen to anyone. They use that to try to desensitize you to the situation, and then they say it's unhoused. No, dog.
The officer for the National Alliance to End Homelessness.
Would you say that the stigma around homelessness takes away from the priority to solve the issue?
I believe it does. What we really need is we need the communities to be committed to actually solving the problem and not just blaming people who are homeless.
That is such empty rhetoric. What does that mean? We need the communities to be committed to solving the problem of homelessness? You know how big of an issue that is? You know all of the different things that you got to tackle: wage growth, housing, a sustainable economy, safety, drug usage. legislation, both nationally and locally. Such a big problem. You can't just...
The United States Department of Housing and Urban Development blames the record-breaking increase on the rising cost of living.
It costs more to rent a modest apartment than people make in a modest job.
Devastating natural disasters like the Maui wildfire that displaced thousands have added to the shortage of housing. The report also says the number of homeless families more than doubled in some cities like New York and Chicago, where migrant families were bused from border states.
Now they ain't got nowhere to go, and y'all don't know how to house them, and y'all want to kick them out, and so they're going to be the ones that's committing all of the crimes and being homeless in y'all cities.
Now at 6, Washington State's homelessness rate continues to rise and is now among the highest in the country. This is according to a new study just released today by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Yeah, the surge comes despite the fact that billions of dollars have been spent in the past decade to reduce the trend. Como senior reporter Chris Daniels has looked through the lengthy...
Where's all of this money going? That's the thing that I'm curious about. We all know that homelessness is an issue. We know that it's growing, even though they keep telling us everybody is having, doing well. They told us over the last 3.5, 4 years that everybody was doing well, the economy was awesome, and all of that, right? And so we know that a lot of people is broke. We know that a lot of people is moving back in with their baby mamas. We know that the baby mamas is trying to figure out where they're going to get $40. That goes without saying, all right? Here's my question. Where did all of this federal money go? Where did all of this state money go? Where did all of that $25 billion in California go? Where are these billions going to? And how are they leveraging your tax dollars? Because remember, it's your money. How are they leveraging your tax dollars to fix homelessness? How come we don't have more transparency? How come we don't have online reports to where you can go to the site and figure out, okay, this is where my tax dollars went here, this is where my tax dollars went there. Where are these mysterious programs that they keep using to reduce homelessness? Where the heck is it? I agree, it's money laundering. Absolutely is money laundering. Yeah, and they spend billions trying to eradicate the problem. Where? Oh, who? Who, what, when, where, why, and how, Freaky Jason? Where? Where? I'm not going for it.
To report and talk to experts, he now joins us live with more tonight. Chris?
Yeah, Hannah, some good news. The number of homeless veterans across the country has dropped, and in Washington State, the number of homeless youths are also on the decline. But otherwise, every metric is pointed in the wrong direction. On a dreary day, when tents don't dot the landscape like years before, Sarah Rankin says the visuals don't paint a full picture.
But the bulk of the iceberg is not visible to folks.
Oh, big
The
watch.
Seattle U professor is...
said not one newly built facility. Nope, we got one over in California on Skid Row. They spent $165 million for permanent homeless housing. $165 million on one building, $600,000 per unit. If that ain't money laundering, I don't know what is. If that's not money laundering, I don't know what is. How do you spend $165 million on building a facility to the tune of $600,000 per unit? How is that possible? How is that possible? That is one of the biggest money laundering schemes I've ever seen in my entire life. It's a whole lot of people that got rich off California, and it wasn't the people that was in the streets.
Is the founder and director of the Homeless Rights Advocacy Project.
We know that the single most reliable predictor of homelessness is the cost of housing, and we've been suffering from a major housing affordability crisis in Washington and throughout the country. So the spigot is constantly turning up.
The HUD annual assessment now estimates there are more than 771,000 homeless people in America on a given night, up 18% in a year. And Washington has a higher percentage than most states. According to HUD, that's because there's been a 35% increase in Washington state of people experiencing homelessness since 2007.
Let's look at this. Change since 2007, change since 2023-24. All right, so let's look at since 2007 on the right side. At the top, it looks like you got New York. They got 152% more homeless people in New York than ever before since 2007. California is 35%. Massachusetts looks like 94%. Illinois, 66%. And Washington, 35%. What does all of these states have in common?
So,
because we got a mixture of the ones that's under it. In Florida, they got it less than 34%. They got a minus, so they got less homeless people in Florida, less homeless people in Texas, less homeless people in Georgia, less homeless people in New Jersey, and less homeless people in Maryland. Okay, so what does all of these people have in common? Every last one of those states are blue states. Every last one of those states that experienced a massive increase in homelessness are blue states. The largest decrease in homeless population has come from majority red states. Yep. Illinois, for example, from 2023 to 2024, experienced a 116% increase in homelessness, the largest ever. The largest ever.
And while there has been success with reducing youth homelessness, Washington State is number one in the largest change in chronic homelessness of any state in the country, up almost 56% in a year and 360% since 2007, according to HUD. And that's after billions of dollars have been spent here to build out housing, services, and treatment, and the creation of the King County Regional Homelessness Authority that infrequently updates its own website since naming a new CEO in August. How has there been a good return on the investment?
What we know is that there are more people entering homelessness for the first time than ever.
Rankin suggests there has been progress here too, noting the numbers involving veterans and youth, but says there will be no quick fix for an issue now more than a decade in the making. Of course, we have heard many voices in King County in particular that believe that this is a fentanyl and addiction crisis that has complicated homelessness across not only this county but throughout the state. Rankin says that she believes there will be more detail in a new state report from the State Department of Commerce that will be released in January, which will highlight some of the strengths and weaknesses right now in the current system in Washington State. For now, live in Seattle, I'm Chris Daniels, KOMO News.
Earlier this year, the King County Regional Homelessness Authority released the results of its biannual point-in-time count. It found on any given night there are 16,385 people experiencing homelessness within the county. That's an increase of 23% from the 2022 count.
How is it in Portland? I'm going to be in Portland pretty soon. I've never been to Portland before. How is it in Portland? How is it in Portland? I heard it was pretty bad over there in Portland. Let me read some of these super chats, and then we're going to continue on with the show. Give me a second. Let me make sure I look at something else real quick.
Let's see if we can get another one.
I want to go into housing first. Let's go into housing. I'm sorry. I want to go into housing.
Trouble
then I wanna
buying a
talk about
home.
homelessness. And then I want to go into having a job.
Shit.
You'll see what I'm talking about shortly. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notification. Let's continue.
Well, I want to ask you about this because this is an economic story we're seeing playing out. One of the big stories to end 2024 has been the home buyer story. American homeowners are feeling the crunch of home insurance and property tax payments. That is really pushing up their monthly mortgages. The Wall Street Journal found that in September, 32% of the average single-family monthly mortgage payment went to insurance and tax payments. That's the highest since 2014. Analysts say the climbing cost of property taxes and home insurance, it's not going to come down, putting further burden on homeowners, even if they've refinanced or even if they got a low rate.
Yes, we are going to do the Q show tonight. All right, we are doing the Q show tonight. All right, let's get it.
On their mortgage, they got that 3.5% or 4%.
No, it's not the same topic technically. When we talking about housing from the lens of what it's going to cost you to break into and possibly buy your own home, and what the true costs are of housing. When you're talking about homelessness, we talking about getting your car stolen, and then that's not going to be good for you. We talking about living in a car on wheels. It's a much different thing. Housing versus homelessness is completely different subjects.
Wow, this is going to be really tough on the housing market. I'm going to tell you that right now, of late, the worst performing sector in the U.S. equity market has been housing-related shares. They're under a lot of pressure. They've been sinking by double-digit percentage for the current quarter to date since the election. It's really a mess. Let's face it, you go ahead, you take out a fixed-rate mortgage. Well, it's great to know that your monthly mortgage payment is fixed. But what you don't know is what your future property taxes might be and what your future property insurance costs might be. And I want to add one thing. I think this is important.
And that's the thing that people don't take into consideration when they decide that they want to sign up and they want to buy a house. Buying a house in the United States of America essentially is a scam. I didn't say that out loud, did I? I didn't say that out loud, did I? That's why I say that you should never look at purchasing a home in the same lens as making an investment. It's not the same unless you're making an investment in a home to make money from it. Because you don't even you don't even look at all of the costs and account for it the same way. Buying a home, which doesn't mean that it's not best for you, depending on what your circumstance is, but buying a home in the United States of America, to an extent, is a scam. Because, for example, if you don't pay your property taxes, they can still take it from you. You can have 360 payments on a fixed 30-year mortgage, thinking that you was going to be working from home. You bought your home in 2019, 2021, and you can start missing payments, and then you get 3 to 6 months behind, and they can take your home from you and say that we are repossessing or we are foreclosing on your home, and you lose it for nothing. You lose it for nothing. That's one of the things that they're fighting over in Chicago. They say that Cook County is a finesse. Most people, when they go out and they buy a home, they look at two things. They look at the interest rate and they look at the payment. They look at the interest rate and the payment. They look at their earnings, income, and then they say, how much house can I afford? What is my payment going to be? And that is the fastest way to get finesse, is to say, what is my payment is going to be? They don't take into consideration HOA fees. That matters. They don't take into consideration insurance, especially for my people down there in Florida. I warned y'all. I've been warning y'all for years now. I said, stay out of Florida. Don't look at that as an investment property. Nope, but y'all getting y'all butt kicks with them HOA fees. Y'all getting y'all butts kicked with them hurricanes. Insurance companies is pulling out. Y'all trying to figure out if y'all should go without insurance. Oh, I'm going to risk it. I'm going to just go without insurance. Now you getting flooded out. Hurricane slapped y'all in the face. Tampa, y'all was worried. People started wrapping up their cars in plastic wrap, trying to save their vehicles. They don't take property taxes. They don't take HOAs. They don't take insurance. And let me add another caveat in there. They don't take maintenance. Because when your air goes out and they charge you an arm and a leg and you ain't got it and you put it on a credit card, you got to pay for that. When you need a new roof, you got a leaky roof. A lot of these newer homes is being built. That's not custom built, but they being built by these large, you know, I don't want to say their names, but they being made by these large builders. Those homes is cheap. You got to continue to do maintenance. You got to do grass. All of that. And somebody want to slip and fall on your property. All of that matters. Let me pivot for a second. Let's go into it from a different angle. Housing market in 2025, what can you expect?
With just 1 week left in 2024, housing remains a key issue heading into the new year. Consumers will continue to try to navigate both of these things. High mortgage rates, though,
and the costs go up year after year. Because the more valuable your property becomes, the higher your property taxes are.
They're stubborn, Ballin.
Prices. I want to bring in our next guest to discuss what to expect in the new year. Ivy Zellman, Executive Vice President, Zellman & Associates. Good morning, Ivy.
Good morning.
What do you think is going to happen? I mean, did you see there's a story, by the way, in the Journal, is it this morning, that says that your mortgage is not actually even your biggest cost anymore. Did you see that? It was actually surprising.
No, I did. Yeah, something like 32% were paying more than half of their mortgage payment to property taxes and homeowners insurance. Pretty troubling.
Pretty troubling. So
a lot of people, more than almost 1/3 of the population, spend more money on their property taxes, insurance, maintenance, and HOA fees. More than 1/3 of the United States of America spend more money on property taxes and insurance than they do on the mortgage of the home. And most of the mortgage is going in interest. And you got to make 360 of them payments, assuming that you never refinance.
What do you, as it portends for 25, what do you see?
I think more challenges. We haven't seen any relief on the stretched affordability issue, and that's only getting worse as mortgage rates remain elevated and are going higher.
What do you think the rates will be for the next 12 months? What do you think like the average homeowner should expect if they were going to go try to buy a new home?
You know, I don't forecast rates, but I can't imagine why rates would go much lower from here, especially with some of the Trump administration proposals with potential risk of higher inflation. So I think that right now we're looking at the affordability index is probably about almost.
Somebody says, Philip Hook says, so people are supposed to pay landlords. Okay, you take sense. Well, number one, I don't know what you take sense means. I'm assuming that you meant to say you make sense. You know how I am about people and their punctuation. So first of all, I didn't give a solution yet. You so busy trying to be sassy that you are not listening. I'm allowing for the information to come out so that I can then give you an alternative for what you're facing in a housing market in 2025. But you so busy trying to bully me and you so busy trying to make sense of your situation because you in a bad deal. If you don't be patient, you know it's Monday, right? And so I'm a little nicer on Mondays and I tend to be on Fridays and Saturdays because by Fridays and Saturdays, I'm a little bit more high strung. I didn't give a solution yet. Did I? I might not give a solution now because you're pissing me off. Sit down, pumpkin. All right, this didn't go well for the last few people. Let's hear what she has to say, and then I'm going to have a conversation with you afterwards.
25% above trend line for existing homes and about 10 to 15% above for new homes. So I think today it's really troubling for the entry-level buyer. We are seeing more resilience for the higher move-up segment, especially those that are able to use cash. But it's a challenging market.
In terms of
crazy.
New builds, when you look geographically, is there any market where you see actually something really great happening?
I wouldn't say there's anything great happening because if you look at the markets that are not high production new home markets like the Midwest. We're actually seeing continued home price inflation that's pretty significant. Take my home state of Cleveland right now, or my market of Cleveland. Right now, home prices are up 8% year to date, compared to markets nationally up 3 to 4%. So I think where the production builders are, that's making availability of more product more competitive and keeping a lid on home price inflation. But I wouldn't say anything's really good going on, and I think that we're definitely see that bifurcation in the market throughout the U.S.
Do you like any of the home builders?
Y'all better pray
home
for me.
builders? Publicly traded home builders?
No,
we are more skewed to the high-end builders. So we're recommending builders like Toll, Dreamfinders, Taylor Morrison. But we also
I wouldn't invest in Pulte Homes. I wouldn't invest in the Lennar Homes. I do like higher-end home builders. I still don't think that y'all should invest in those from a play as far as like in the stock market. But we'll get there. We'll get there.
like Lennar, given the transformation we're expecting from the spin, the Milrose spin. But I think it's all relative. I think we're more neutral on the sector, given the challenges that we see. We think you have to really be looking for, some modest exposure, but there's no question there are headwinds. And you start talking about the risk of tariffs and, deportation. I think there are headwinds that will keep the sector a lid on performance.
Let me say this. Every situation is different, but if you're asking for my recommendation of how you should approach the housing market in 2025, number one, you got to approach it from the investor's view. I've been largely playing that game, and I've been largely having this conversation, which is one of the reasons why I started Block Club last year in the Patreon, to break down the differences and the costs and how it is you can make money from real estate and how you should approach it, so on and so forth. In the last Block Club, I broke down my true cost of what it took for me to build a home from scratch, from buying the land all the way to finishing the property and everything in between, and what my learned lessons are. I am now doing it again. We are in the framing of the second property, and we've broken ground on 3 more on top of that. So we got 4 properties that are in development right now, and we're looking to scale up. First of all, from an investor's perspective, right? And when I say investors, I'm not talking about people that just own their home. I talk about people that are actually investing in real estate. I think that the people that are investing in real estate, including the institutional investors, which is one of the reasons that they got into the game, is going to kill it. Within a few years, more than half of the population is going to be a nation of renters, which is not necessarily a bad thing. We do need more home ownership, but just purely from an investor's perspective, I think that your net worth, if you are a person that is investing in real estate and you've been able to eliminate the amount of money that you're giving over to the bank in interest and hold on to your properties, you will make a killing. You will make a killing. I've been positioning myself personally because I have 0 mortgages on any properties to reinvest everything that I have into building out these properties, especially if you are in markets that are going to be booming. Stay away from Florida. Stay away from California. If you are trying to become a homeowner or an investor over in California, it is the worst market to rent your home in. You will have problems with squatters. You will have problems with carrying costs. You are going to have problems with property taxes. You are going to have problems with crime. Same thing in Florida, not to the extent of California. Over in Florida, you are going to have problems with weather. You're going to have problems with insurance. You're going to have a problem with glut. And the reason that they have a private insurance just for the state is because they're trying to give people confidence in a Floridian market. Do not build homes. Do not buy homes. In Tampa, Miami, Orlando, Southern Florida, St. Petersburg, nowhere in Florida. Do not buy property in Florida. If you are in Florida and you own property, then good luck to you. I can't tell you where or what you can and can't do, but I am going to tell you that you are one disaster away, and insurance companies are going to continue to raise rates and price you out of your homes, and they're going to continue to artificially inflate the values of these homes, which is going to increase your property taxes. I believe that you need to go in and up. That is where the investment opportunities are. Now, if you're trying to buy a home to live in, I would advocate you guys to go further into the Midwest. I know you don't like the weather. And again, I'm looking at this from a business perspective. I know you don't like the weather, but I'm looking at it from a business perspective. Somebody says Orlando to be booming. Orlando is booming because everybody in Southern Florida are being pushed up. They can't afford to endure through the weather, and they cannot afford to continue to live down south, right? And that is why everybody is being pushed up. They've been priced out. And so people in Orlando is being pushed up to Georgia, and the people in Southern Florida is being pushed up to Orlando. That's the only reason why they're booming. They don't have a sustainable market that is going to be conducive for them in the next 10 to 15 years. This is just my own personal opinion, okay? So if you are looking at it from an investor's perspective, everything is going to go back up to the Great Lakes. The Great Lakes has the largest body of fresh water, okay? In addition to that, the infrastructure is booming. Stay away from Chicago and Illinois. Stay away from Chicago and Illinois. Everything else, even if you want to stay in Nashville, if you want to go to the Tennessee market, not Memphis. If you want to go over to Atlanta and Georgia, that's cool. If you want to go over to Indiana, they're going to be booming. Ohio is up next. Michigan is booming. Pittsburgh, all of those places will be hot spots for investing. I am telling you, they will be hot spots for investing. Stay away from Arizona. Stay away from Nevada. Stay away from California. Stay away from New Mexico. Stay away from all of those places. Texas will be fine. Texas is an economy within itself. But more importantly, let me give you all a couple of other tips before you get into the mortgage industry, all right? Number one, think about this. 360 payments, 30 years. Will you be able to sustain that, and does that make sense for you? Because you don't truly get the value of a home until you lived in it for at least 10 to 15 years. You don't truly get the value of a home unless you've lived in it for 10 to 15 years. Wherever you buy a home to live in, plan to be there for the next 10 to 15 years is all I'm saying. Wherever you buy a home to live in, plan to be there for the next 10 to 15 years if you want to truly get the value out of it. Somebody said previously, so you saying become a nation of renters. Well, it depends on what you want your lifestyle to be. It depends on what you want your cost to be. The biggest finesse is convincing you that you had to own a home. The thing that they're not teaching you is that you need to limit the amount of money that you're using for expenses and lifestyle. And so for some of you, it may be a better lifestyle and investment opportunity to park your money in certain stocks. The return on that doesn't necessarily have to be it coming in real estate. Real estate is a vehicle a lot of times for people to protect their wealth. But when you calculate the true cost of technically renting a home from the state, from your county, it may not be commensurate with your lifestyle. You may not want the maintenance costs that go along with it. You may not get the return on investment. It may be more conducive for you to live in a place where you don't have to have maintenance costs, lower your lifestyle, get a reasonable price for you, and then park the difference in the rest of your money into the stock market. It depends on each individual circumstance and where you are in the United States of America is what I'm saying. So don't look at everything so rigid. Stop taking advice from everybody that say, you need to buy. You don't have to do anything. You need to reevaluate what your goals are, where you plan on being. Some people don't even plan on being in the United States of America when they retire, and they may be 10 years away from retiring. I would not recommend a person that is 10 years away from retiring to buy a home in the United States of America when they're planning on being overseas. And all of their income is going to be coming residually. And so they need to pivot on their portfolio, because I don't want you to take on the costs or the responsibility of buying a home. That is an individual circumstance. If you plan on having small children and you just get married, it's more conducive for you to buy a home. Now we need to go and figure out exactly what market makes the most sense for you. You see what I'm saying? So every circumstance is different. Every situation is different. It depends on who you are, where you are, what you do for a living, what your lifestyle is, how many people are dependent on you, and what you plan on doing within the next 10 to 15 years. Every circumstance is different.
Does this mean you're...
Don't be so rigid. Don't be so rigid, all right? Okay?
That's for people that actually have money to invest. Nice theory, but I got nothing to put down. I don't even have good credit. I couldn't get a credit card from PayPal, and I've been with PayPal for years.
Give me the note, and I'll...
It's so stupid.
Now we begin. That's very true. This short. It's gratified. Sure. It sounds you should my. Your general. Secretary, knowing your follow collaborate on proving you no. If you do that, might have group Greystone can be there. I'm sure he don't get. Back. That Kalen. It must have been good, not Jaden. I hope no. Stop. You need. You mentioned a native. Yeah. Sure. You may not have. No one talks.
I don't remember getting into this character. It's a new guy. Okay, I'm going to try to play another vid.
Fani Willis is being subpoenaed, and I think that the cars are starting to fall for her, and she's starting to panic. Check it out.
A judge rules Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis can be subpoenaed by the state Senate. This comes as they continue to investigate possible misconduct during her prosecution of President-elect Donald Trump. Fox 5's Eric Perry is at the live desk on the story.
I'm gonna read the cash app
Eric, what is the latest on this development?
Yeah, Christine, this comes just weeks after a state appeals court removed Willis.
Come on, man. Put them S's back up. Before we get to it, put them S's back up. Put the S's up. All of that. And the S. On the S's. I don't like the S's. I mean, I know we're going to get to Fani Willis. Shout out to ESDC. Shout out to Trini Life. I appreciate you. Trini Life says, good Saturday show. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you, Trini Life. Put the S's up, man. All the S's. I don't like the S's, bro. A little too sassy. Hold it in, big dog. Hold it in.
From the Georgia election interference case against President-elect Trump. Now, DA Willis has until January 13th to submit arguments before a final order is ruled. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis is back in the spotlight after Superior Court Judge Shakira Ingram ruled she can face a subpoena by the Georgia State Senate. The Republican-led Senate committee is looking into whether she engaged in misconduct during her prosecution of President-elect Donald Trump.
Yes, she did. Let me save y'all some time, some taxpayer dollars, some investigation work. Everybody and their mama know that she is 100%. Let me rephrase that for the people in the back because y'all might have missed it. 100% engaged, in my opinion. She was 100% engaged in misconduct and leveraging her office and using taxpayer dollars to do the things that she wasn't supposed to do. Now, my biggest thing isn't even for her. I'm not even tripping on Fani Willis. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not even tripping. I ain't got no complaints about Fani Willis. Fani Willis did what Fani Willis does. She was leveraged by the Kamala Harris and Biden administration to wage war against Trump that she lost, because God is real, God is good all the time. That's number one. She enriched herself and allowed for herself to benefit off of somebody that was largely inexperienced in prosecuting the cases that brought forth that was brought forth against Trump in order to have election interference to the tune of over $700,000 that we know of. And then she tried to act like she paid her back in cash. We knew that that was a lie. And she talked so sassy and so disrespectful on the bench. And you know what the worst part about this whole thing is? It's not even Fani Willis. This is what I'm saying. The worst thing about this whole conversation is not even Fani Willis. The worst thing about this conversation is the fact that y'all black people decided that y'all wanted to re-elect her and get her back in office, and she was supported by the black church.
Senator
She was endorsed by Jamal Bryant. She was able to stand on the pulpit, which is supposed to be sacred ground. Sacred ground. She was standing on pulpits of the black churches down there in Atlanta and Fulton County, and they advocated for her, and they stood on business when it came to celebrating and promoting and advocating for her to stay back in office, even though she is a sinner's sinner. She is a sinner's sinner. The people that need to be held accountable is not only her and Nathan Wade, but also the community and the black church. This popularity contest inside of these Tyler Perry churches got to stop. The popularity contest inside of these Tyler Perry churches got to stop. It got to stop. It got to stop now.
They are the head of all prosecutions in their county. So therefore, no one should be able to question them, right? Well, the Georgia Senate disagrees with that.
Trial attorney and political analyst Joshua Schiffer breaks down the decision. According to the ruling, Willis has until January 13th to submit arguments over whether the subpoenas require her to provide confidential information. Judge Ingram will then issue a final order saying what Willis has to respond to.
Prosecutors are used to strong independence
I love
and
you too.
the
Shout out to
exclusive
XJ.
duties and privileges of their position.
Former Georgia Governor Roy Barnes represents Willis in the case and says they want the ruling overturned and they plan to appeal. This also comes after a 2-1 ruling by the State of Appeals Court earlier this month, removing Willis from the Georgia election interference case against President-elect Trump, citing, quote, an appearance of impropriety. Willis's office is asking the Georgia Supreme Court to review that decision. This fight going back months. The Senate committee hoped to question Willis back in September, but she skipped that meeting. The committee turned to Judge Ingram in October, asking for Willis to comply with the subpoenas. Schiffer says, don't expect anything major to happen soon.
What this really does is moves the ball forward to an eventual date where Fani Willis will either have to show up and testify and bring some information.
Yeah, we know there's a lot to keep track
The masses, man.
Of here, and here's something else to keep in mind. The current Georgia legislative term ends when new lawmakers are sworn in for their new term. Republican State Senator Greg Dolezal of Cumming says he plans to file to reestablish this committee at the beginning of the 2025 legislative session.
I think that they're going after. Slowly but surely, you're going to start to see the cards fall. That's what's happening right now. Is a process. It's a process. It is something that you seeing happening slowly, but it's not going to go away. And what she thought was going to go away just because they took Nathan Wade off the case. First of all, the case is completely in shambles and it's all fell apart. So we don't have to worry about Trump ever getting convicted over in Fulton County from all of these fake charges in the first place. That's dumb. But I believe that this is just the beginning. Honestly, I think that this is just the beginning. You're going to see her have to testify, then she's going to have to start to justify, then she's going to have to start to pivot, and then you're going to see her wanting to look for a pardon, and she's going to want Biden to pardon her for everything that happened all the way back to 2004. And I think that she's going to go down. Eventually, she's going down. And she was dependent. Most of these people were depending on Kamala Harris to get into office so that they can save themselves. Most of these people were depending on Kamala Harris to get into office so that they can save themselves. they believed and they rocked with her, and she told them probably, hey, listen, I'm going to be president of the United States of America. Roll with me. You're going to get a seat in my cabinet. You play by the rules. Everything is going to work out in your benefit. And let's just go ahead and get Trump out of the way because he's our biggest obstacle. We can handle this person. We can handle this person. We can handle that person. But Trump, he too strong. He too strong. We're going to go ahead and proactively try to get him up out of there. And none of it worked because God said it is so. And it is so. Because God said, nope, that's not what we going with. We not rocking with it. And you're going to have to atone for and account for everything that you did in this office that was crooked and evil and negative, and we're going to hold you accountable for these things that's happening inside of this place. All right. I think after this, we'll take a break. Let me just find out where I'm supposed to go.
Do you recognize me?
Drunken vessel, your face, though life has written. Yeah, I'm on.
You on par.
So, you seek an army to protect the Republic from its enemies. Quite a plan.
As I remember, perhaps we... I feel that...
Damn, I had to come all the way to fuck the Tython to fucking do that? Are you serious? I gotta go all the way back to Hoth again? God damn it, I just finished Hoth. And I gotta go to Alderaan because my boy needs some help. I tell you, being a Jedi is so fucking busy. If you're a Sith, you could just kill him. And that's it. Done. Done. Much less work. Jeez. Let's go to Alderaan first. Try to get my boy set up. Because I finished the whole thing, so I'm just try to go there. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and stop it here, take a long break, and I'll catch you guys later. Thanks for watching.